Hello, everybody. This is Nick Totero, Professor of Information Technologies and Computer Science, Lakeland Community College. All right, let's talk about Phase 01, data organization. If you've been in any classes of me, especially if you've done programming logic or Java or some other program, you often hear me use this phrase over and over again: small, manageable chunks. When you look at a big project, you want to treat it in small, manageable chunks. That's why I broke this project down into phases. Phase 01 is just data organization, getting the stuff from a Topsy into your report. So, in this video, we're going to just get the information from a Topsy into our report for Microsoft Excel. Now, understand, even though we're doing data organization, if we pick up tidbits of information, why don't we just put that in the document, and later on we can, when we get into phase 02 and we're really deep diving into stuff and we're analyzing stuff, the stuff is already there. Okay, let's take a look at investigating Microsoft Word documents. So let's go up to my screen. Right, I'm down here in the lower right corner. I'm going to start moving my image around so I'm not blocking anything. And sure enough, here is my for demo image, and I'm in the Microsoft Word. And this one looks a little bit different than the Excel. I actually have a sub document there called Godzilla with Graphics Doc. All right, let's kind of go through this and see what we got here. They all appear to be DOCX documents, but let's take a quick peek here. And this appears to be a DOCX. And I'm going to check the hex real quickly. 54B, that's a Microsoft Office document. So let's do a investigation, and let's just do a data organization, put this into our report. So I'm going to say, bring up my report. Sorry about that. And this is the Godzilla with graphics. Now, I obviously put the name of that title with graphics for a specific reason, but it could be nothing. It could be meaningless, but I put it in there. But over here on this screen here, it does show that there is one graphic inside that document. So I want to know about that. So let's take care of everything else, and then we are going to take a look at the graphic. All right. So I'm going to go through this process. Godzilla with graphics, .docx. All right. I put the executive summary later on. Now, in this particular table, this would only be used for image graphics, not embedded graphics. We can put those in another location if we wanted to, but we would only use this table if it's the actual document is an image. Now think about this. I'm being very selective with these files. I know there's a graphic in there. I know there's one graphic in there. What if there's a lot of graphics in there? So we'll put that graphic, we'll document that graphic, but we're not going to document the graphic here because this table is for if the document is truly a graphic. So I'm going to just say NA here, and I'm going to go through the whole process again. Here's where life gets a little tedious. So I'm going to the metadata. I'm going to clean it up. You're going to see me do this in several videos. There's the MD5, the SHA-256. All right. And go to my metadata. Well, first put the examiner is me. Put the metadata here. Now, down here under notes, I would put, okay, document contains one graphic. And down here in the notes, I would put, and I'm I would look up what they're calling the graphic. Now, let me explain how they're calling this graphic. This graphic here, because it's embedded into a document, Topsy just assigns it a graphics name. It's going to assign it image1.jpg, right? If I had 30 graphics in there, it would be image 1 through image 30 JPEG, right? And you would see all of those. So that's not necessarily the graphics name. If we were to truly deep dive deeper into that graphic, it's its own file. It has data in it, but maybe that was stripped out too. Here is the metadata that's associated with that graphic. Can't really tell when it was created. It does have a SHA value here. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy this graphic. That's the classic 1954 Godzilla. I'm a bit of a purist. All right. And I'll go back to my report. And underneath the notes, whoops, didn't let me copy the right thing. Let me try that again. Let me go back here. Let me do it. I'm not quite sure why it didn't copy it. Doing everything right most of the time. There we go. And because it has metadata, I'm going to do the exact same thing. All right. But again, you notice, let me expand my screen here a little bit here. You notice that I'm putting it in the notes and not in the document description because we're describing the Word document. There just happens to be graphics here. Now, for your project, right? Do not worry about the embedded graphics. I did not put any embedded graphics in anything of value for your project. You may see in your project a whole bunch of embedded graphics because it's PDF files or it's mostly PDF files or something along that lines. For the project, for this course, don't worry about the embedded graphics, especially think about it. You take a typical PDF file, it could have hundreds of embedded graphics. In a real investigation, yeah, you got to document every single one of those graphics. So think of it this way. What if somebody's trying to hide an inappropriate graphic inside a Word document, Excel document, PDF document, or something like that? For our project, we suspend reality a little bit here, and we don't worry about the graphics. But I'm just showing you how you would handle it. All righty. So we took care of one graphic here. Let's one Word document. Let's go back up and let's take a look at the other ones. Well, we have Godzilla. That appears to be a Word document. So we're just going to go through the process again. I will speed up a little bit. I don't have to narrate all this. All right. Whoops. This one is Godzilla.docx. Put this here. All right. We'll deep dive into it later. There's no graphic associated. It's not a graphic file. We'll take care of the hashing later. We'll put our name here. That's what you get when you're rushing. All right, we'll get the metadata. We've seen me do this. Let's strip out any formatting that we don't want. You notice how it's getting a lot quicker once I see the format that I want to take. All right. Metadata. Take a quick look at the metadata. Everything seems to be fine here with the metadata. All right. Just doing some preliminary checking. All right. Let's go to Hoshino Coffee. Really good coffee in Japan. So this is my little tip of the hat to this really nice coffee shop. It's a franchise. I believe it's a franchise. They have Starbucks there, but this is kind of where the locals go instead of going to Starbucks. It's a really good cup of coffee. Anyways, well, that's kind of interesting. It looks like a graphic. It's coming up as a DOCX. Let's take a quick look at the hex. Nope. That's not a Microsoft Office. That appears to be a real image. So in this particular case, we can't assume. We're going to write that down. We're going to document it. So let me bring it here. Let's go through the process. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Hoshino coffee.docx, because it does say docx. Put the name here. Hoshino coffee.docx. And because it's an image, let me capture it as an image and let me put that in the document, in the report. All right, let's go to the metadata. And let's strip out some stuff there. Forensic investigator, me. Metadata here. And because it appears to be a graphic, let's take a look at this thing called analysis of results. Let's load that up. And now this has some additional information to it. This has EXIF data associated with it, so it's a little bit more advanced. You will notice that it has latitude and longitude values in there. Word documents, Excel documents don't have latitude and longitude. It appears that it was taken by an iPhone, all right, on a certain day. That might be particular information that I want to hold on to for our analysis. So this looks more and more like it's not a Microsoft Word document. Let me strip this out. A lot of interesting information in this one, even though it's coming across as a Microsoft Word. A lot of pieces, parts. All right, stripped out the format. Going to continue in the metadata area. And with this one, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to deep dive. I'm not going to nail, but you know what? Having latitude and longitude in there, that's really something of interest to me. So I'm just going to highlight it. I'm just going to highlight it for potential future. In my notes, I'm just going to say, does not appear to be a MS Word document. Appears to be a image with GPS data, right? We're not deep diving yet. Later on, when we deep dive, we'll say, okay, what the picture looks like. We are now convinced. We'll check signatures and things like that in a deep dive. All right, let's look at another one. Let's look at King Kong. We're not going to do, well, let's do King Kong. All right, that appears to be a Word document. So let's go through this process again. Yes, it's monotonous. And yes, you're watching me do this. Can you imagine? To me, it's interesting stuff. But there is now King Kong is spelled K-I with the I uppercase. Make sure if it tries to auto format it, you fix that. I love the autocorrect and I love the auto format, but sometimes it doesn't appear to be a graphics file. It's not coming across as a graphic, so I'm just going to say NA here. And let me go to file metadata, kind of now there's something of interest. This file is hidden. If you look right here, this file is hidden. It's not really showing up here as hidden. So let's take a look at this metadata. Now, just because a file is hidden, that's not suspicious, but that's not in the norm. So what I'm going to do is clean this all up, clean up the formatting, put that into my report. Later on, I will put the MD file, I will put the hash values. See, I know how to spell my own name. And I'll put in the metadata. Okay. And again, I'm not really investigating yet. I'm going to highlight this. That looks interesting. That might be something that I want to include in my that is something I'd want to include in my executive summary. So I basically highlight it. And so when I do my analysis, away we go. All right. Well, let's look at one more file. Lo and behold, there's Ultraman, right? Looks like a Word document. I can check the hex signature. Yep. And there's some stuff. When we would investigate these files, we would have to do an executive summary of what the content would be. This, we're not doing it right now. This appears to be some kind of report about Ultraman. A little tip of the hat. I used to watch Ultraman when I was a kid on Channel 43. Ultraman and Johnny Sacco and his flying robot. Loved the shows. And of course, Godzilla. If you look over my shoulder, there's Godzilla. All righty, so let's put this in. Let's put one more report here. And this was called, make sure I get the name right, Ultraman. Now, a bit of trivia. As many of you know, I'm married to Dr. Irene Yuen of the math department. She was born and raised in Hong Kong. The direct translation for the Hong Kong version of Ultraman, when they dubbed it from Japanese to Chinese, is Japanese Superman. And you just learned something new. Now, again, somewhere we would say deleted file, right? So for our notes and stuff like that, this appears to be a deleted file. There's no graph, it's not a graphic file. All right, not going to worry about the examiner's name. Let's kind of speed things up a little bit. Let's go to file metadata. Now, I'm doing this by hand. If I was to do thousands of files and there would be ways I can automate all this. I'd be dumping this stuff out. There are export functions inside of Topsy that you can export this stuff, and it would export it into a common separated value field. if I go back, let me finish this thought, and then I'll show you. Okay, and let me save this. If you really begin to look at the program Autopsy, there are features to this. For example, you'll notice that there's this little button over here where I can take this table and I can save it to a common separated value file. And in another video with images, I'm going to do exactly that when we get into phase 2 and analysis. I'm going to do exactly that and show you some of the things we can do with the common separated values. So I wouldn't be doing it this way. You know, we're only dealing with a handful of files. It would take me longer to write the Python programs that would automate the process than to just doing it by hand. Maybe someday between semesters, I might write the programs. Excuse me. So four files, right? Or 5 files. They all had their own little quirks to them, obviously, because I put them together. You know, they had one file that was not a Microsoft Word document. We tagged that. One file that was hidden, we tagged that. One file that was delete, we tagged that. One file that was a normal Word document and one file that had graphics to it. So a lot of little things. And we're still just organizing the data at this point. We're putting in little clues for ourselves. So later on, you say, okay, let me go ahead and let me take a look at this. This file contains this. This file was hidden, et cetera, et cetera. So lots to learn. Let's keep learning.